In cinema, there are characters that not only appear on the screen, but also haunt the audience's mind, making us unable to take our eyes off them. They can make us extremely scared, deeply empathize, laugh, or be moved to silence. Each role is a magical journey where acting, emotion, and the power of cinema blend together to create vivid, complex, and timeless characters. Let's explore the transformations of a lifetime, the moments that make cinema truly magical. Stellan Skarsgård, born June 13th, 1951 at 74 years old, is still the type of actor who, just standing still in a frame for a few seconds, can make the atmosphere so thick, dark, and heavy that the audience has to swallow their saliva. And in Dune, he brought one of the most haunting transformations of his career, even being called by many critics as a powerful monster made of silence. As Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, Skarsgård not only wore dozens of kilos of makeup, his skin was as pale as a corpse, and his body was disfigured. What really made the audience shiver was the way he moved. His every step was sickly slow, as if crushing layers of air and crushing the will of those standing before him. The unnaturally slow turn of the head, the lazy yet piercing gaze of a predator in no hurry, because all the prey is already in the palm of his hand. Skarsgård's voice is also a weapon. Deep, hoarse, small but authoritative. Harkonnen never needs to shout. He commands in a whisper, and the way he draws out each word makes the viewer feel as if he is tasting every drop of fear in the air. If he opens his mouth, the whole room seems to sink several degrees. The most remarkable thing is, under layers of silicone and heavy makeup, Skarsgård still gives this character a soul. A dark, rotten soul, but terrifyingly alive. He doesn't just play the bad guy, he exists as a symbol of absolute corruption, a ruthless ruler who doesn't need to show anger because his silence is enough to kill hope. Every time Harkonnen appears, whether floating in the darkness, emerging from a tank of black oil, or sitting still as a shadow, the audience reacts in the same way, breathless. At 74, Stellan Skarsgård has proven that the power of acting lies not in dramatic screams, but in the ability to make an entire frame dangerous with a single glance. And with Dune, he has created one of the most terrifying, memorable, and classy villains in modern cinema. Hugo Weaving, born on April 4th, 1960 at age 65, remains one of the most versatile actors in front of the camera. In Captain America, the First Avenger, he created one of the most impressive opening villains in MCU history, Red Skull, a man whose ambition and obsession transcend human limits. In the role of Johann Schmidt, Weaving didn't just rely on the terrifying red mask to inspire fear. What truly brought Red Skull to life on screen was the chilling coldness hidden beneath his gaze, his breath, and the words he spoke, each delivered with extreme arrogance. Every time he spoke, the audience could almost feel Schmidt's contempt for all of humanity, as if he were looking down on the world from a position of absolute superiority. Every step Red Skull took exuded the self-importance of someone who believed he was born to rule. The calculating look in his eyes, the arrogant frown, the deep, sharp voice, all meticulously crafted by Hugo Weaving, making each of his threats as heavy as red-hot steel. He didn't need to shout or flaunt his strength. A single word was enough to make his opponent tremble. Combining his grotesque appearance, uncompromising cruelty, and the aura of a fanatical leader, Weaving breathed life into Red Skull, transforming him into one of the foundational villains of the MCU. A figure both terrifying and captivating, perfectly suited to confront Captain America on his first adventure. With this iconic portrayal, Hugo Weaving not only created Red Skull, he created the archetypal villain of the Marvel era, a legacy that audiences still remember today. Tom Hardy, born September 15th, 1977 at 48, is still the type of actor who can swallow an entire frame with his powerful and mysterious presence alone. And in The Dark Knight Rises, Hardy created one of the most brilliant and haunting villains in modern superhero movies. Bane, a man with a brutality forged in darkness and a sharp intellect hidden behind a steel mask. As Bane, Hardy doesn't need to rely on physical strength or intense punches to terrify audiences. What makes this character legendary is his distorted but resonant voice that sounds like it comes from a metal machine. It's a voice that's both strange, powerful, and coldly sarcastic, making each of Bane's sentences a predetermined declaration. He doesn't threaten with a roar, he threatens with absolute calm. Tom Hardy also imbues Bane with the body language of a ruler. The way he stands tall in the midst of a chaotic crowd, unwavering. The way he walks slowly but surely, as if each step is an assertion of control, or the eerie calm in his eyes even when facing Batman head-on. It's not recklessness. It's absolute confidence in victory. Hardy creates a villain who is both a warrior and a strategist, a ruthless yet intelligent man, strong yet coldly calculating. And it's the combination of his exquisite acting skills, unique voice, and true physical foundation that makes Bane step off the screen as a symbol of menace, a worthy opponent to bring Batman to his knees, both physically and mentally. Tom Hardy didn't just play Bane, he redefined Bane. And that's why this character is always mentioned as one of the most haunting, intense, and memorable villains Hollywood has ever brought to audiences. Oscar Isaac, born on March 9th, 1979, and now 46, is the type of actor who can make any character feel deep and substantial. In X-Men Apocalypse, he takes on the ambitious role of Apocalypse, an ancient mutant with great vision and a powerful presence. As in Saba Noor, Oscar Isaac underwent an elaborate makeup process with blue-purple skin and ancient civilization motifs. Although his appearance is very distinctive, what makes his character stand out is not only the appearance, but also the way Isaac uses his voice, body language, and demeanor. His deep, resonant, and carefully adjusted voice gives Apocalypse the feeling of a character with a lot of experience and determination. Every word he says clearly shows the views and ideals of a character who believes in the ability to change the world. Oscar Isaac also uses body movements in a restrained but effective way, standing firmly, walking slowly, observing thoughtfully. These details help the character exude confidence and strong influence, without any need for any harsh actions. Isaac's calmness and composure are the factors that create weight for Apocalypse on screen. Thanks to the combination of subtle acting, strong demeanor, and unique appearance, Oscar Isaac has brought an iconic version of Apocalypse, majestic, different, and with inner depth. This is one of the villain roles with a distinct personal mark in the X-Men series, contributing to creating a colorful and emotional story. Zoe Saldana, born on June 19th, 1978, and at the age of 47 made a significant mark in her career by embodying Neytiri in Avatar, a revolutionary film in the history of cinematic special effects. In the role of Neytiri, Zoe Saldana didn't just act in a traditional way. She had to work with advanced motion capture technology, where every small movement, every expression, every glance, and every breath was precisely recorded to recreate the most realistic image of a Na'vi character possible. Thanks to her flexible body control, subtle emotions, and intense focus, Zoe made Neytiri a character with depth, vibrancy, and emotion. Zoe fully embodied the strong spirit of a jungle warrior, while also conveying softness, pride, and deep affection for her homeland, Pandora. Every gesture, every glance, and every moment of nonverbal communication reveals the depth of emotion she brings to the character. Audiences easily forget that this is a character created using CGI because the emotions Zoe instills transcend the limitations of technology. Thanks to this compelling performance, Neytiri not only became a prominent figure in the science fiction genre, but also an emotional icon of the entire film. Zoe Saldana, with her subtle acting and serious dedication to the role, became an important part of bringing the world of Pandora closer to millions of viewers worldwide. Orlando Bloom, born on January 13th, 1977, and now 48, has become one of the most beloved faces in The Lord of the Rings. The role of Legolas not only brought him to A-list stardom, but also became a symbol of the graceful beauty and power of the elves. As Legolas Greenleaf, Orlando Bloom perfectly combines the agility of the wind, the elegance of the elves, and the quiet strength hidden behind the calm eyes. From his snow-light steps to his graceful fighting style, Legolas appears as an almost surreal warrior, so precise, neat, and beautiful that every time he throws a bow and shoots an arrow, it becomes a moment that makes the audience satisfied. Bloom has brought to this character the aura of someone who is not only knowledgeable in battle, but also rich in loyalty and the noble spirit of the elves. Through his calm gaze and rare yet warm smile, Legolas becomes the perfect balance point in the group of companions, both a warrior and a trustworthy friend. Thanks to his graceful and powerful performance, Orlando Bloom has turned Legolas into one of the most beloved characters in both the book and film series, holding a special place in the hearts of fans for decades. Helena Bonham Carter, born on May 26, 1966 and now 59, is an actress who can turn any role into an unforgettable one. And in Alice in Wonderland, she completely burned the screen with her vibrant transformation into the Red Queen. In this role, Helena does not only rely on her signature giant head or impressive makeup, she also brings a series of exaggerated gestures, authoritative snaps, sharp eyes, and exaggerated expressions, to the point of being humorous, but still threatening enough to make anyone wary. Thanks to her sharp delivery, both grumpy and funny in her own way, Helena has turned the Red Queen into a unique character, half monstrous, half domineering child, but always makes the audience glued to her. Helena Bonham Carter's combination of comedy, drama, and charming madness created one of the most memorable screen renditions of the Red Queen, taking the character beyond her cartoonish frame to become a pop culture icon. Josh Brolin, born February 12, 1968 and now 57, created one of the greatest villains of modern cinema when he entered Avengers: Endgame as Thanos. As the Mad Titan, Brolin relied on more than just advanced motion capture technology. What stunned audiences was the way he conveyed Thanos' terrifying calm, absolute authority, and ruthless philosophy through every glance and every subtle movement of his facial muscles, even though the character was created with CGI. Brolin's deep, slow, yet razor-sharp voice made each of Thanos' lines carry tremendous weight. When he spoke of balancing the universe, viewers heard not just a dictator, but a character who believed he was shouldering the responsibilities of a god, an extreme but consistent belief that made Thanos scarier than any previous villain. Through a combination of stellar motion capture performance, poignant acting, and powerful presence, Josh Brolin transformed Thanos into the iconic villain of the entire MCU, a foe not only physically powerful, but dangerous because of the twisted philosophy he absolutely believes in. Joaquin Phoenix, born October 28, 1974, now 50, delivered one of the most haunting performances of the 21st century as Arthur Fleck in Joker. As a lonely man slowly slipping away from the boundaries of reason, Phoenix did not rely on exaggeration, but instead used fragile gestures, a twitching face, and a thin body to tell the story of years of trauma. Every frown, forced smile, or uncontrollable sob contained a layer of complex emotions, leaving the audience both heartbroken and afraid. What made this performance special was its raw honesty. Phoenix portrayed Arthur's loneliness, his desire to be seen, and his psychological turmoil with such intensity that it was hard to look away. As Arthur gradually transforms into the Joker, his gaze, movements, and voice become confident, sharp, yet tragic, as if the audience is witnessing the birth of an unwilling criminal icon. With a performance that reaches the level of transformation, Joaquin Phoenix has received global acclaim in a series of prestigious awards, including a Best Actor Oscar, affirming this as one of the most complex and haunting characters ever to appear on the big screen. Danny DeVito, born on November 17, 1944 and now 80, is one of the rare actors who can make any villain both terrifying and unforgettable. In Batman Returns, he left a deep impression with the role of Oswald Cobblepot, Penguin. DeVito not only relied on the bizarre makeup, from the signature beak, short round arms to pale skin and hideous wheelchair, but also portrayed the character with uncomfortable gestures, crouching movements, and eyes that were both cruel and painful. Every movement, every gritted teeth, or his hoarse laughter created a penguin that was both terrifying and tragic. Thanks to the combination of his masterful acting talent, the ability to transform his body and his powerful but distorted demeanor, Danny DeVito transformed Penguin from a comic book character into a vivid, memorable villain icon that haunted audiences for generations. Tim Roth, born May 14, 1961, and now 64 years old, made a significant mark in his career, playing General Thade in Planet of the Apes, 2001. This was no ordinary villainous role. It demanded a combination of subtle acting, complex body control, and the ability to immerse himself in an entirely different world, where humans and apes were recreated through a creative, cinematic language. In the role of General Thade, Tim Roth donned elaborate makeup, but that makeup was only the beginning. What made the character memorable was how Roth created a strong, sharp, and deeply introspective personality through subtle details. Thade's eyes didn't just convey seriousness. They also held vigilance, curiosity, and at times absolute belief in his role within the ape society. That gaze allows the audience to see the depth of a character born to lead, nurtured in discipline, and always guided by ideals. Roth's body language is a major highlight. He not only recreates the characteristic agility of an ape, but also imbues each movement with the confidence and weight of a general. Each steady step, each controlled stance, each sharp turn of the head, all create the feeling that Thade always holds the initiative, no matter the circumstances. Even with makeup covering much of his face, Roth conveys emotion through subtle movements, something very few actors can do convincingly. Tim Roth's voice also plays a crucial role. He adjusts the depth, rhythm, and nuance of each line to create a character that is both powerful and profound. Without exaggeration, his voice alone conveyed Thade's leadership, as well as the decisiveness and vision he displayed in every word. The combination of seasoned acting skills, dedication to the role, and a deep understanding of the character's psychology made General Thade one of the most memorable characters in Planet of the Apes. Tim Roth didn't just play a villain, he created a character with a unique inner world, ideals, beliefs, and complexity that captivated viewers. Thanks to this portrayal, Thade became one of the film's most important figures, contributing to a rich and compelling cinematic world. And Tim Roth, through his talent, once again proved that he is one of the most versatile actors of his generation. Bill Nighy, born on December 12, 1949, and now 75 years old, is one of the rare actors capable of transforming a supernatural character into one with profound emotion and human depth. In Pirates of the Caribbean, his portrayal of Davy Jones is not merely a villain, it's a subtle blend of acting technique, motion capture artistry, and haunting emotion. Davy Jones is a bizarre character with a face made up of constantly moving tentacles. But what audiences remember most isn't the special effects, but the way Bill Nighy breathes life into each frame. Through motion capture technology, every subtle facial movement, every tilt of the head, every moment of silence is precisely controlled, making the character seem incredibly lifelike. The fluidity of movement and the calm demeanor create a Davy Jones who is both powerful and mysterious. Bill Nighy's voice is a powerful highlight. His deep, resonant, and rhythmically controlled voice allows the character to exude both the authority of a leader and the deep-seated pain he has carried for years. Every line spoken by Davy Jones is imbued with a sense of anguish, like a soul bound by responsibility and his own tragedy. As a result, the character is not only visually impressive, but also deeply moving for the audience. Nighy portrays Davy Jones with a subtle blend of sadness, pride, and the weariness of someone who has experienced too much loss. His eyes, though recreated using CGI, retain the authenticity of the original performance, a gaze that is both cold and imbued with the profound loneliness of the boundless sea. This gives Davy Jones not only the mystique of ocean mythology, but also the depth of a tragic character from classical literature. Thanks to the blend of cutting-edge technology and superb acting, Bill Nye elevated Davy Jones to one of the most nuanced villains in 21st century cinema. He created a character that was both powerful and emotionally resonant, leaving audiences not only with the character's magnificent appearance, but also with the poignant story of loss hidden beneath that supernatural exterior. Davy Jones, as portrayed by Bill Nye, is more than just a character. He is a symbol of the conflict between power and heart, between responsibility and fate. And that is why this role remains one of the highlights of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. Michael Keaton, born on September 5th, 1951, and now 74 years old, delivered one of the most daring, outrageous, and unforgettable performances of his career as Beetlejuice in Tim Burton's film of the same name. This wasn't just an entertaining role. It was a clear testament to Keaton's extraordinary versatility and boundless commitment in front of the camera. In Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton didn't simply rely on the bizarre makeup, the messy hair, pale skin, and iconic black and white pinstripe suit. What truly brought the character to life was the uncontrolled energy Keaton brought to every scene. He moved constantly, spoke rapidly, and his expressions changed incessantly, creating the feeling that Beetlejuice was always on the edge between humor and chaos. Keaton uses a shifty gaze, a half-sarcastic, half-teasing smile, and a rapid-fire pace of dialogue to create an unpredictable character. Beetlejuice doesn't follow any rules, and neither does Michael Keaton. He makes the audience feel that this character can break all boundaries of space, story, and even cinematic logic with a tilt of the head or a spontaneously uttered phrase. What's special is that, behind this crazy and bizarrely humorous exterior, Keaton still maintains an irresistible appeal for Beetlejuice. The character is not only funny, but also possesses a rebellious spirit that is very Burton, eccentric, unusual, but full of personality. It is this delicate balance of comedy, absurdity, and Gothic style that has made Beetlejuice a timeless icon. Michael Keaton portrays this role with absolute freedom, as if he were playing with the screen itself. Thanks to his mastery of rhythm, quick reflexes, and sharp sense of humor, he transformed Beetlejuice into an irreplaceable character, an unusually creative archetype that was both hilarious and captivating. This energetic portrayal made Beetlejuice one of the most iconic characters in Tim Burton's cinematic world, and a significant milestone in Michael Keaton's career. Even today, just mentioning Beetlejuice immediately brings to mind the crazy demeanor, high-pitched voice, and explosive energy that Keaton delivered, a role that lives on through generations. Johnny Depp, born on June 9th, 1963, and now 62 years old, delivered one of the most impactful and haunting performances of his career as James Whitey Bulger in Black Mass. This role marked a complete shedding of the eccentric comedic image that had become synonymous with Depp, replacing it with a cold, raw, and terrifying character in a very real way. As the notorious Boston crime boss, Johnny Depp didn't rely on ostentation or shock tactics. He built Whitey Bulger with terrifying restraint. Depp's eyes almost never showed any clear emotion. It was a look of observation, assessment, and control. A look that made the person facing him feel constantly at a disadvantage, even without any threats being uttered. Whitey Bulger's half-smile is one of the most haunting details. It's neither humorous nor exactly angry, but rather the calmness of someone who believes everything is under control. Johnny Depp understands that fear doesn't come from outbursts, but from a sense of unpredictability, and he conveys that through every small gesture, every unusually prolonged moment of silence. Depp's voice in Black Mass is also handled coldly and precisely. Without shouting or dramatic emphasis, he lets each line flow smoothly, as if every decision had been calculated long ago. This very calmness makes the character dangerous in a very realistic way, so close to life that it sends shivers down the audience's spine. What's special about this portrayal is how Johnny Depp blends ruthlessness with a normal appearance. Whitey Bulger isn't portrayed as a cinematic monster, but as a disciplined human being with rules in his own world. That's what makes the character even more terrifying, because it reflects a form of power that exists silently, without ostentation, yet is always present. With Black Mass, Johnny Depp demonstrated his versatility at the highest level. He not only recreated a real-life character, but also transformed Whitey Bulger into a cinematic figure with immense psychological weight, captivating viewers while simultaneously making them feel uneasy. This is one of the roles that shows Depp is not just a star, but an actor willing to go to the very limits of immersion. Brad Pitt, born on December 18, 1963 and now 61 years old, has left a special mark on his career with his subtle portrayal of Benjamin Button in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. This wasn't a flashy or dramatic role in the usual sense, but rather a slow, profound, emotional journey where Brad Pitt used his inner acting to guide the audience through each stage of a life reversed in time. In the role of Benjamin Button, Brad Pitt didn't just rely on aging and rejuvenation techniques to tell this unique story. The character's weight lay in how he conveyed the inner changes in Benjamin through his eyes, breathing, and subtle gestures. In his early years, Benjamin's gaze held the curiosity and innocence of a child learning to understand the world, despite his outwardly aged appearance. As time reverses, those eyes gradually fill with the experiences, the wisdom, and the quiet sadness of someone who has lived through too many separations. Brad Pitt portrays Benjamin with absolute restraint. He doesn't push emotions to a climax, but lets them spread slowly and naturally. The character's loneliness isn't expressed verbally, but is present in moments of silence, in the way Benjamin observes those around him and realizes he's always outside the normal flow of life. It is this quietness that makes the character relatable and easily touches the hearts of the audience. Brad Pitt's voice in the film also changes throughout the film, but always maintains a gentle and calm tone. Each line of Benjamin's dialogue is like a stream of reminiscence, carrying acceptance, gratitude, and even regret for things he couldn't hold on to. Pitt makes the audience feel that Benjamin Button isn't trying to fight fate, but learning to live with it, cherishing every moment, however fleeting or fragile. Thanks to his nuanced performance and deep empathy for the character, Brad Pitt transformed Benjamin Button into a timeless figure, a man who lived differently but always yearned to be loved and to belong. This role was not only a major technical challenge, but also a testament to Pitt's mature and profound acting abilities. Benjamin Button, through Brad Pitt's portrayal, became a symbol of the fragility of time and the beauty of fleeting moments. And it was this genuine acting that made this role one of the most memorable milestones in his career, leaving a gentle and emotional resonance in the hearts of viewers long after the film ended. Christian Bale, born on January 30th, 1974, and now 51 years old, delivered one of the most stunning transformations of his career as Dick Cheney in Vice. This wasn't simply a biographical role, but a complete metamorphosis, where Bale almost entirely shed his own persona to embody one of the most powerful and complex figures in modern American politics. In Vice, Christian Bale didn't just play Dick Cheney, he became Dick Cheney. The change began with his appearance. Significant weight gain, altered physique, dentures, sophisticated makeup, and a distinctive hairstyle. But all of that was just the surface. What truly astonished audiences was how Bale recreated Cheney's demeanor and aura, a man of few words, reserved, yet exuding an air of absolute control. Bale built the character through subtle details. His gait was slow, heavy, yet firm. The way he sits silently, listening, letting others finish before offering a concise yet impactful response. Cheney's gaze, as portrayed by Bale, doesn't reveal obvious emotions, but always makes the listener feel as if they are being judged, weighed in a long, drawn-out power struggle. Bale's voice is carefully controlled, deep even, without excessive fluctuations. Each of Dick Cheney's lines in Vice isn't a speech, but rather a carefully considered decision. This calm, almost cold demeanor makes the character both formidable and captivating because the audience understands that Cheney's power lies not in ostentation, but in his ability to exert a subtle yet profound influence. Most impressive of this performance is how Christian Bale keeps the character deeply human. Dick Cheney isn't portrayed as an abstract symbol, but as an individual with ambition, beliefs, a family, and his own perspective on power. Bale shows Cheney as someone who believes in his choices, despite the controversial consequences. And it is this unwavering belief that gives the character its psychological weight. With Vice, Christian Bale once again demonstrates his rare level of commitment to his roles. He not only changes his appearance, but also analyzes the character to its core, so that every glance, every gesture, every moment of silence carries meaning. His portrayal of Dick Cheney is not loud or dramatic in the usual way, but leaves a powerful impact, just like the character Bale himself embodied. This transformation not only makes Vice more convincing, but also affirms Christian Bale as one of the most profoundly versatile and serious actors in contemporary cinema. Dick Cheney, through Bale's performance, becomes a vibrant cinematic figure, captivating the audience and prompting them to reflect long after the film ends. Robert Downey Jr., born April 4th, 1965, and now 60 years old, delivered one of the most controversial yet memorable performances of his career as Kirk Lazarus in Tropic Thunder. This wasn't just a simple comedic performance, but a profound satire on the extremism of acting methods and the artistic ego within the film industry. In Tropic Thunder, Downey Jr. played an actor so intensely method acting that he lost sight of himself and his character. But what made Kirk Lazarus special wasn't his outward appearance, but the intelligent satire Downey Jr. conveyed. He constructed the character as a paradoxical reflection of Hollywood, where excessive seriousness sometimes becomes ridiculous and artistic ambition can transcend reasonable boundaries. Robert Downey Jr. portrayed Kirk Lazarus with incredibly precise acting rhythm. Every mischievous glance, every raised eyebrow, every emphasized line of dialogue carries a high degree of self-mockery. He doesn't try to make the character lovable, but rather lets the stiffness, overconfidence, and blind faith in his acting create the humor. This absurdly serious demeanor becomes the most powerful source of comedic energy in the role. Downey Jr.'s admirable quality lies in his ability to keep the character within the boundaries of deliberate satire. Kirk Lazarus isn't a character designed to mock a specific individual or community, but rather a sharp commentary on filmmaking culture, on actors willing to go to extremes to prove their artistic prowess. Downey Jr. understands this very well and regulates his performance so that the laughter always serves the satirical meaning of the film. Kirk Lazarus's voice, pronunciation, and demeanor are all tightly controlled by Downey Jr. The character speaks with absolute confidence, always believing he is right, that he is on a higher level than those around him. This very attitude creates a biting irony, because the audience recognizes the absurdity in the character's perception of himself and the world. Thanks to his ability to combine high-level acting, clever humor, and a keen self-awareness of his role in the story, Robert Downey Jr. has made Kirk Lazarus one of the most memorable satirical comedic roles in modern cinema. This is the kind of role that both makes viewers laugh and makes them ponder the boundaries between art, ego, and creative extremism. Jim Carrey, born on January 17th, 1962, and now 63 years old, delivered one of the most explosive, uninhibited, and unforgettable performances in popular cinema with his portrayal of Stanley Ipkiss, or rather, The Mask, in the film of the same name. This role not only shaped Carrey's career, but also became a cultural icon for an entire decade. In The Mask, Jim Carrey didn't simply play a character, he completely unleashed his body and energy in front of the camera. Stanley Ipkiss initially appears as a gentle, shy man, always overwhelmed by the world around him. But when the mask appears, Carrey instantly transforms the character into an unbounded entity, where all rules of physics, logic, and etiquette are bent in the most hilarious way. What sets Jim Carrey apart is his ability to use his body as an absolute acting tool. He moves, bends, jumps, and changes expressions with almost unbelievable speed, making the mask look like a cartoon character brought to life. His mischievous eyes, oversized grin, and rhythmic, exaggerated movements all blend into a vibrant performance that keeps the audience glued to the screen. But behind this colorful chaos lies an incredibly tightly controlled comedic rhythm. Jim Carrey doesn't improvise. He understands exactly when to explode, when to pause, and when to let his gaze and silence create laughter on their own. The Mask, therefore, is not only funny in its form, but also captivating because of the confidence, charm, and free spirit Carrie infuses into the character. The contrast between Stanley Ipkiss and The Mask further highlights Carrie's talent. He makes the audience believe in two versions of the same person, one shy and awkward, the other free-spirited, charming, and full of energy. It is this contrast that creates emotional depth for the film, making The Mask not just a comedic role, but also a story about dreams, self-liberation, and the joy of being oneself. Angelina Jolie, born on June 4th, 1975, and now 50 years old, delivered one of the most stunning and emotionally resonant performances of her career as Maleficent in the film of the same name. This wasn't just a reimagined version of a familiar villain, but a complete rebirth of a fairy tale legend from a profound and humanistic perspective. As Maleficent, Angelina Jolie possessed an almost overwhelming presence from the very first moment she appeared. With her iconic horns, majestic wings, and dignified demeanor, she fully embodied the power of a witch once feared by the world. But what made Jolie's Maleficent different wasn't her appearance or strength, but the emotional depth she infused into the character. Angelina Jolie didn't portray Maleficent as a pure symbol of evil. Instead, she depicted the character as a person who had trusted, loved, been betrayed, and deeply hurt. Moments of silence, fleeting sadness in her eyes, or distant gazes all reveal a complex inner world, where anger and pain coexist with buried compassion. Jolie's eyes are a particularly striking feature. With just a glance, she can shift from cold and distant to gentle and thoughtful. Maleficent can stand tall like a queen, but can also quietly observe the world with the gaze of a soul that has suffered too much loss. It is this subtle transformation that makes the audience not only fear Maleficent, but also understand her. Angelina Jolie's body language also plays a crucial role in shaping the character. Her slow, graceful, yet controlled gestures create the feeling that Maleficent always dominates her surroundings. However, when the character reveals her true emotions, those movements become softer, more intimate, as if the armor of power is slowly cracking to reveal the heart within. Brendan Fraser, born on December 3rd, 1968, and now 56 years old, delivered one of the most subtly impactful performances in modern cinema with his portrayal of Charlie and the Whale. This wasn't a performance that impressed with dramatic climaxes or surface drama, but rather a deeply emotional journey where Fraser used absolute sincerity to directly touch the hearts of viewers. As Charlie, a reclusive teacher, almost completely isolated from the world, Brendan Fraser didn't need to showcase elaborate acting techniques. He built the character with patience and quiet reflection. Every lowered gaze, every hesitant moment before speaking, every heavy breath carried the silent pain of a man living with guilt, regret, and loneliness. Charlie didn't talk much about his suffering, and Fraser didn't force the character to explain it. He let the emotions emerge naturally, almost nakedly. What makes this performance so special lies in Brendan Fraser's eyes. They are the eyes of someone who has experienced profound loss, yet still harbors a desire to be understood. Every time Charlie looks at someone, the audience senses his hesitation, his fear of rejection, but also sees a very faint glimmer of hope, the hope that he still deserves to be loved. Fraser conveys this not through dialogue, but through unusually prolonged silences, through emotional voids that viewers cannot ignore. Charlize Theron, born August 7th, 1975, and now 50 years old, delivered one of the most impactful transformations in film history with her portrayal of Aileen Wuornos in Monster. This wasn't just a difficult role, it was an extreme challenge, forcing Theron to completely shed her Hollywood star image and enter the dark, complex, and tragic inner world of a woman marginalized by society. In Monster, Charlize Theron didn't simply change her appearance. She erased herself. From gaining weight and altering features once considered iconic, to her dry, damaged hair, tan skin, and heavy gait, everything was designed to serve the character, not the actress's image. But what truly stunned the audience wasn't the outward transformation, but Theron's eyes that always carried a sense of wariness, weariness, hurt, and an undeniable despair. Charlize Theron portrays Aileen Wuornos as a person pushed to the edge of existence. Her character isn't built on explanations or justifications, but on prolonged, repressed emotions. Aileen's moments of silence weigh heavily on the viewer, no less than any dialogue. It's the silence of someone accustomed to not being heard. And when emotions surge, Theron expresses them not through dramatization, but through very instinctive, very real reactions, leaving the viewer uneasy but unable to look away. Theron's voice in Monster is also a key element. She adjusts her voice to be rough, unstable, at times harsh, at other times trembling, as if about to shatter. Every line carries the feeling of someone constantly on the defensive, always afraid of being hurt again. It is this very fragility that makes the character complex, both difficult to accept and impossible to ignore. Nicole Kidman, born on June 20th, 1967, and now 58 years old, delivered one of the most subtle and profound performances of her career as Virginia Woolf in The Hours. This wasn't a flashy or dramatic role in the usual sense, but rather a complex inner portrait where every emotion was expressed with absolute restraint and rare depth. As a brilliant writer constantly grappling with mental instability, Nicole Kidman didn't use dialogue to explain Virginia Woolf's pain. Instead, she let the audience feel it. Kidman's gaze frequently wandered, as if lost in a stream of unending thoughts. It was the gaze of someone living between the real world and her inner world, where creativity and torment coexisted, inseparable. Kidman built Virginia Woolf through small but powerful details. Her slow, somewhat withdrawn gait, the way her hands always seem hesitant, as if searching for something to hold on to, or the way she pauses before speaking, as if each word requires immense effort. These moments of silence are not empty. They contain loneliness, weariness, and a sense of being trapped within the character's own mind. Nicole Kidman's voice in The Hours is also a crucial part of her performance. It's soft even, sometimes slightly shaky, but always under control. Virginia Woolf doesn't talk much about her pain, but each word carries the weight of a sensitive soul struggling to survive amidst a constant surge of emotion. Kidman makes the audience understand that, for Woolf, communicating with the world is sometimes just as difficult as confronting herself. Jared Leto, born on December 26, 1971 and now 53 years old, delivered one of the most controversial yet unforgettable performances of his career as Paolo Gucci in House of Gucci. This role clearly demonstrates Leto's familiar tendency, a willingness to push the boundaries of his acting, sacrificing his personal image to create a completely different character on screen. As the eccentric heir of the Gucci family, Jared Leto almost completely disappears behind the heavy makeup, thinning hair, altered physique, and distinctive style of dress. However, like many of his other roles, appearance is only the tip of the iceberg. What brings Paolo Gucci to life lies in the voice, rhythm, and demeanor that Leto instilled in the character. Paolo's high-pitched, drawn-out voice, sometimes hesitant and somewhat exaggerated, gives each of his lines an unusual feel, as if the character is constantly trying to assert his existence in a world that doesn't truly listen. Jared Leto portrays Paolo Gucci with a clear blend of comedy and tragedy. His exaggerated gestures, clumsy movements, and passionate gaze generate laughter, but beneath it lies the image of a man yearning for recognition. Paolo is not just a comical character. He is an undervalued creator, an individual alienated within his own family. Leto perfectly captures this contradiction and allows it to permeate every moment of his performance. Colin Farrell, born May 31st, 1976, and now 49 years old, delivered one of the most astonishing transformations of his career as Oswald Cobblepot, Penguin in The Batman. This is the kind of role where audiences have to look twice to recognize the familiar Colin Farrell, as he almost completely disappears to make way for a character who is both rough, vibrant, and full of weight in Gotham's underworld. As Penguin, Farrell was covered in incredibly sophisticated makeup, a distorted face, pale skin, dentures, a heavy build, and a somewhat clumsy demeanor. But like the best transformations in film history, appearance is only the first door. What makes Colin Farrell's Penguin truly memorable is how he brought the character to life in every small moment. Farrell built Penguin as a man full of contradictions. He walked with a heavy but not clumsy gait. Every movement conveyed the feeling of someone accustomed to dominating space. The way Penguin leaned, the way he smirked, the way his eyes darted back and forth as if calculating something, all created the image of a crime boss who relied not only on strength, but also on cunning and a keen survival instinct. Colin Farrell's voice was a key element in shaping the character. Deep, slightly hoarse, with a distinctive street rhythm, Penguin felt both approachable and unpredictably mysterious. He didn't try to make the character loud or showy. On the contrary, it was precisely this calmness and occasional playfulness that made Penguin more dangerous, because the audience always felt that behind every word lay an unspoken calculation. The most interesting aspect of this portrayal is how Colin Farrell gave Penguin a unique and captivating appeal. The character may be rude, may be intimidating, but at the same time, he possesses a subtle, very human charm. Penguin's moments of laughter, self-satisfaction, or instinctive reactions make him seem authentic, as if he truly is a part of Gotham, a man born and raised in the city's shadows. Colin Farrell doesn't portray Penguin as a simple villain. He transforms Oswald Cobblepot into an ambitious individual with personality, a past, and very human vulnerabilities. This is why each time Penguin appears, the audience isn't just seeing a villain, but also observing a human being striving to rise in the cruel world he belongs to. Eddie Murphy, born on April 3, 1961 and now 64 years old, delivered one of the most brilliant and memorable comedic performances of his career with Coming to America, a film that not only solidified his star status, but also showcased a rare versatility rarely achieved by comedians. In this film, Eddie Murphy didn't simply play one character, but embodied multiple different characters, each with their own distinct personality, rhythm, and style. Among them, Saul, though not appearing frequently, left a particularly strong impression. Eddie Murphy didn't build Saul with loud comedic gags, but with absolute precision in every small detail. The elaborate makeup and refined costumes allowed Murphy to completely break away from his usual image. But what made the audience laugh wasn't his appearance, but the way he lived the character. Saul is portrayed with slightly stiff gestures, a curious, observant gaze, and a voice skillfully tuned to create a feeling that is both strange and familiar. Eddie Murphy understands that humor doesn't just come from the lines, but from the timing, the moment the character appears, the moment they pause, the moment they deliver a glance or a short line. It is this control of rhythm that makes each of Saul's appearances a memorable moment. What's remarkable about Eddie Murphy is his ability to keep the character from becoming overly exaggerated. Saul has a charmingly goofy quality, but without being overdone. Behind the quirky exterior lies a distinct personality, built on keen observation and a sharp comedic instinct. Murphy makes the audience feel as if Saul truly exists in the film's world, not just a fleeting joke. Eddie Murphy's ability to take on multiple roles in Coming to America also demonstrates a rare level of confidence and dedication. He not only challenged his acting abilities, but also toyed with the very concept of character identity. Each role he portrayed, including Saul, had its own voice, gait, expression, and rhythm, making the audience forget that it was all played by the same actor.